Joining us now to talk about the verdict in the Harvey Weinstein trial is the director of the Women's Equal Justice Project. That is a program aiming to help survivors of sexual assault navigate the criminal justice system. She's also a former sex crimes prosecutor with the Queens District Attorney's Office. Jane Manning, so glad you're here. Thank you.
Thank you, Dana.
First of all, the Women's Equal Justice Project. Tell us a little bit more about that, how long it's been around and its effectiveness.
It's a new organization that actually started up at the National Organization for Women and then branched out on our own because there was so much demand for the kind of work that we do. And the work that we do is we work one-on-one with survivors of rape and sexual assault who want their cases prosecuted criminally. And in all too many instances, still find that to be an uphill battle. We support them through that process.
We know how much courage it took for the women
That's right.
who testified in the Harvey Weinstein case. Let's look at the verdicts today that came down. Guilty on rape in the third degree, guilty criminal sex act, not guilty on the more serious charges, predatory sexual assault, 2 counts of that involving each complainant, and rape in the first degree. With those guilty verdicts, he could still face up to 29 years in prison. That sentencing is March 11th. Your reaction to the verdicts?
It's a stunning victory for the survivors, full stop. And the charge on which he was convicted, the criminal sexual act in the first degree, that's a really serious charge. It's a B violent felony under New York state law. And in most sex crime cases, that would be the top count. That would be the most serious count. It carries a maximum of 25 years in prison and also a minimum of 5 years in prison. So Harvey Weinstein is looking at very serious jail time.
This particular one is about forcing Mimi Haley to perform oral sex. And just for her, the courage of testifying, going back to your organization, I mean, this is private, it's embarrassing, it's hurtful, it's every word, tormenting. You could come up with all sorts of things. I'm just wondering, how do you help a woman make the decision to file the charges and testify?
You're so right. No woman in her right mind wants to get on a witness stand and talk about the most horrible, the most humiliating experience of her life in front of a room full of strangers. And when women come forward and do this, it is for one reason alone. They want to protect others from the same thing that happened to them. That is what drove the women to testify against Harvey Weinstein. It's what drives every survivor that I work for. And it's so wonderful to see those women get that validation today in a courtroom of hearing the word guilty.
Do you find that in the women who you come in contact with? I mean, we certainly know that rape can happen to anybody of any social background, economic, age, anything. But what about the women who are reaching out to you and who are wanting to come forward? Are you finding differences in who's more difficult to convince, or, you know, certain parts of the population you're trying harder to reach out to?
So the answer is this: women of every age and race and class have an uphill battle getting the criminal justice system to take rape seriously. That's true for middle-class white women, and it's even more true for women who are from more marginalized communities. Women who are from those more marginalized groups, whether it's because they're in poverty, whether it's because they're a member of, you know, a group that the criminal justice system hasn't been responsive to in the past, have an even more uphill battle.
We're looking at video of one of the many demonstrations of women and men, too, in some of these, supporting the women who are saying, "Me too, this happened to me too." These verdicts today, what effect, what impact does it have on the movements? And we know there's more than Me Too.
This verdict sends such a message. It sends a message to sexual predators that no one is above the law. It sends a message to victims that no matter how long it takes, you shouldn't give up on justice. And it sends a message to prosecutors, too, because these cases in the Harvey Weinstein trial, they were the kind of cases that a lot of prosecutors shy away from. So they weren't your stereotypical stranger in a dark alley with a weapon and DNA evidence. There was none of that in this case. These cases were cases of acquaintance rape and workplace sexual assault and even rape within a relationship. Those can be harder things for prosecutors to go forward on, but today's verdict shows that it can be done successfully. And we want more prosecutors to heed that message and to take some of these more challenging but very typical and very meritorious rape cases to trial.
Jane Manning, thank you. Director of the Women's Equal Justice Project. We'll have connection information to your organization on our website.
Thank you.
Thank you for your input. And we'll be right back after this on CBSN New York. Continued coverage on the Harvey Weinstein verdicts.